We're live.
All right, we are live. Welcome to Phantom Fix. This is our first live stream ever. Me and Jonathan, forgive us because we're getting used to this whole thing. We're trying to figure it out. Yeah, so I appreciate anybody out there that's watching. Today, we're going to be talking about Nintendo Switch 2 and all the drama that has been going on since Wednesday. Because there's been a lot, Jonathan, since that Nintendo Direct that came out, with us seeing all the specs, everything going on with the Nintendo, the games, and there's been a lot of controversy with the prices and with Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and then of course a couple days later we get this whole situation of tariffs and what is going on with these tariffs. A lot of people are complaining, freaking out about it, wondering what's going on there.
Yeah.
It's honestly a lot of controversy for something that was so hyped up to come out.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, what do you think is going on with Nintendo? Why do you think so much? Do you think they had this planned? Do you think they're going to fumble this? Do you think they're in trouble? What's going on?
Well, yeah, I think that Nintendo has they have a lot to figure out, and they're probably scrambling a little bit because I'm sure that this week did not go how they planned. They had, in my opinion, it was a pretty good Switch 2 Direct. I mean, the hype was enormously high leading up to it, right? Because they announced April 2nd day a long time ago. And so people have been waiting for this day for months. And sure enough, a day before they said, hey, tomorrow's the day. It's going to be an hour long, which shot the hype up even more because an hour is longer than any direct we've ever had. And so expectations were through the roof. And I don't want to say that the direct like didn't live up to the expectations. It definitely didn't for some people, but I think maybe that was their fault for having expectations that were unreasonable. But
Yeah.
I think that what occurred after led to a bigger problem, and we can get into that. That's when they didn't reveal really any pricing during the direct, and then there's lots of drama with the tree houses and the tariffs now. So we've had quite a whirlwind of a week. But the direct, let's start with that. Let's start about what you thought about the direct and kind of you know give me your thought process of what it was leading up to it, and then how you think the actual direct went before any drama started.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing to talk about. I'm going to show the Nintendo Direct right here. So I'm going to pull it up. Obviously, this is an hour long video, and so I think one of the things that got me was, let's see, we get all the way to, well, actually, okay. So what was interesting about this direct is they show all this footage, right? Leading up to it. So we get Mario Kart World, and then they jump in later in the specs. So I forgot where it was in the stream,
Yeah, I think it
but
was.
was it
Yeah,
midway through the stream?
no, it was a little before that.
It was
They
before
talked.
that,
Yeah, it was after Mario Kart. Yeah,
right
like
here. So they show Mario Kart off first, okay,
yeah, they had to
and
start
then
it off with a bang. So they knew that people were going to be hungry for Mario Kart, and that first trailer was amazing.
yeah, it was. And then we started getting the specs here for this. We started just seeing the capabilities. You're realizing, okay, we got backwards compatibility, we got game share, we got things like, better speakers, better visuals. The power of this system is incredible. And they did a really good job of showcasing this. And I mean, we got, it's just talking about how there's bigger buttons, we got the chat function. There's so much to honestly gawk at here, because this new system is beautiful and the presentation was very well done. I think what got people was that we were building up all the way to this. I mean, like back when they showed that original trailer for Nintendo Switch 2, we were just looking forward to this new system and to see what was going to happen with that. And then we get this entire presentation, and then you get to the very end after showing us incredible footage of games, showing us the new specs for this, and then people are just like, well, what's the price, what's the
Yeah,
pre-order information?
yeah,
And we don't know any of that. And I think that's what's crazy about it, is that they built up all this hype and then they're just like, well, we're not going to answer any questions.
yeah,
So that's what was crazy to me, because I mean, you and I were texting there in this entire presentation, be like, holy crap, I can't believe that happened, holy crap, like look what this happened. And you know by the end of it, we were just like, okay, well, what's the price, what is it going to set us back?
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite interesting. And I know people have their like opinions on why they didn't put price in the actual showcase. And one of the reasons, and it's probably has some merit to it, is that they didn't think that that was going to be like exciting for people. And so they didn't want to
Yeah.
talk about it. They didn't want to say it outright because they thought that would be a negative response. And so they waited and just had it on the website and kind of let everybody go figure out for themselves. But as we know, that kind of came to bite them in the butt because then there was a lot of confusion, right? Not about the maybe the Switch hardware price, but about the games. So the games kind of went off the rail because, we're talking worldwide. People are looking at everything they can get to get their hands on like actual real prices. And so people are talking about Japan prices compared to American prices. And then you have your European prices, and everybody's trying to do some conversions. And it kind of led to one of the big things. Obviously, people were not okay with Mario Kart being $80. Here in America, $80 was by far the most that Switch has ever launched a game. Pretty much all Switch games, Switch One games, were $60. And then you had Tears of the Kingdom being the sole game on the system that's kind of their cream of the crop. That was $70. And so to see
Yeah.
$80 for a game already, people were like, what's happening? Are the games shooting up this high? Like everyone's feeling the economy right now. And so to see $80 for a Switch game, people were losing their minds. And then that's when we get into the miscommunication. I think there was a Spanish website or a website in Europe that showed $80 for digital, but 90 for physical. And so then everyone thought $90 physical. That's just outrageous. And
Yeah.
so people were going crazy on X and on YouTube, and then we can get into it later. But the Treehouse live streams were just an absolute mess on Thursday and Friday in the chat because of it. So yeah, I think Nintendo should have maybe been more upfront and more clear about pricing, those sorts of things, because it kind of led to a lot of disaster on the internet.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to go back a little bit to start off the very beginning of this trailer, just so we can kind of see some of this footage here. What gets me is that I don't think anybody ever had any question about the hardware here. We all knew it was going to be better, right? And
Right.
so we finally get to this, and we're like, okay, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be way better than Switch One. We're going to get better games, better enhanced. We're all looking forward to new 3D Mario games, a better Mario Kart, the shocker of a Donkey Kong 3D game that we predicted actually in our video, and we finally get to it. And you're right, the $80 thing is what I think pissed everybody off. I mean, because everybody's like, okay, the Switch One when it came out in 2017 or whenever that was, it was what 299, and then
299.
you had the bundle with Mario Kart 8. And then, so we're like, okay, it's probably going to be more. Obviously, the economy's changed. You have to count inflation. And so we get to the place now where we're thinking, okay, $450, $500 for the bundle. Okay, that's fair. But when you start looking at the longevity of this console, and just especially with families, because I mean, this is a family console. It's not PS5. It's not Xbox One. It's, people aren't going to be paying the same thing for that because it's just a different demographic. Yeah, obviously, there's the more hardcore gamers or the longtime Nintendo fans like us.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this system, isn't really, in my opinion, worth paying $80 to $90 a game every time a new game comes out. I mean,
No.
you and I have been going to Walmart to buy Nintendo Switch games because they're $50 at Walmart.
Yep.
And so to see Nintendo drop on their website just like so discreetly and say, oh hey, here's this MSRP price, and you're like, you think that's digital or you think that's physical, and then you realize it's digital. There's a lot of speculation there, but I think what gets me is that Nintendo actually hasn't even confirmed any of that. That's just like local retailers or just speculation online based on one post that Nintendo
Yep.
made on that initial, on that website, on that Mario Kart landing page that they created. So, what do you think? I mean, do you think these prices are legit? Do you think they're going to change?
Yeah, I think well, hold on. Let's say hello to some of the people in the chat here. Laura, how's it going? Nick, what's up,
What's up,
man?
Nick?
Yeah, the tariffs are, we're gonna get into that, but that's crazy. Julia, how's it going? Um, yeah, man, I think that the game prices are really what sparked people to be upset. I think that you look at 450 console, 500 with the bundle Mario Kart, people can live with that. The
Yeah,
Xbox Series X, PS5, both 500 for their like normal version. And so the Switch being 450 obviously is under that. People understand that maybe the Switch 2 didn't have like the exact specs that those consoles would have. But obviously, it brings a lot to the table with the Nintendo IP and everything else. So to be at 450, I don't think people were probably expecting 400. Most people, from what my understanding, were expecting 400, but then 450 is not like out of the question. People were like, that seems fairly reasonable. But the $80 price tag on a game, I think, really blew people's mind. And I think that we like, my opinion is Nintendo is probably just upping the prices $10. And so for their biggest games like Mario Kart World, like Tears of the Kingdom, they're going to price those at $80. And I think for their other like normal games, they're going to be 70. That's like what we're talking about, Donkey Kong, Bonanza, and probably their other like main IP games, Metroid Prime. I think 4 is going to be $70 would be my guess. We don't know yet cuz that game doesn't have a release date.
Yeah.
But I know Breath of the Wild with the like Switch 2 enhancement was $70 on the website. And so my understanding
Which
is there.
let me stop there with that one. Breath of the Wild, that game is already a pre-existing game. If you already own that and you're trying to upgrade that, like that's insane to make people pay for a game that's already pre-existing. Graphic enhancement or no graphic enhancement.
Yeah, I think what they did is they allowed, it's most likely, again, they haven't confirmed like the upgrade enhancement price, but based off like just doing some math here, the original game's $60, but on the Switch 2 part, it's with the enhancement is 70. So you would expect $10 upgrade if you have the game, which over 30 million people bought that game on Switch. So if you have that game, $10 enhancement, and it's my understanding that if you're a Switch Online plus expansion pack member, then that's a free upgrade. That $10 upgrade is free.
Yeah.
So I think that is good. But yeah, the overall general like consensus from the internet is that Nintendo is being very greedy. And I don't disagree, but you have to understand they're a business, they're making money. That's what they do. And so I'm not up in arms about it, but I can understand that people are upset.
Well, you saw the Treehouse Live on Thursday, and what was crazy about that is that every comment in the chat was lower the prices.
Yeah,
These
drop the
prices
prices,
are
drop the
ridiculous. Drop the
prices. Yeah.
prices.
That
And
was kind of wild to see.
I mean, they have people monitoring that. That people are sitting there, from Nintendo trying to figure out what's going on. And in my opinion, if I was them, I think personally, I think there's a long game being played here because the fact that the very next day they dropped the news about the tariffs and then possibly delaying the pre-order. That's I think that there's something going on that they maybe already anticipated. And I think there's been negotiations going on for a while, in my opinion, because obviously with Trump's tariffs and things going on there, like a lot of industry is being shaken up by that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even understand fully even what that means. And so I think just from an initial standpoint, people are just like, well, why do I have to pay more? So that's the biggest deal. I do want to stop real quick. Shake in the chat said that the Steam Deck is $399 for 256 gigs LCD. Jonathan, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Steam Deck, but for those Steam players out there, they a lot of people are going to computer playing instead of console based, and with Steam and the prices of just getting games there and pretty much a wide variety of games there, but people prefer Steam over console these days. And the Steam Deck is honestly their answer to the Nintendo Switch, where you can access Steam games, the Steam platform from a on the go standpoint. And so I was actually talking to my cousin yesterday, and he was saying that he actually is weighing his options here because he thinks that for a handheld Nintendo Switch 2, the price is insane because he primarily uses it for a handheld. And he thinks he's going to go for the Steam Deck. So I'm curious if Nintendo's going to lose people from this. I mean, not everybody, obviously. I mean, loyal fans of Mario and that kind of stuff are going to stick around. But
Yeah.
for somebody like that, they're going to think, well, it's a better deal, better screen, same gigs. We're going to go with the Steam Deck because it provides me a wider variety of options.
Well, I know that Nintendo's big, like that's why. And again, this got mixed feelings in the direct. But I think Nintendo understood that there's big competition there for the third party games. I think Nintendo will always have a huge platform with their IP because their IP is legendary, right? Mario, Zelda, Kirby, Pokemon, like nobody can really compete with that. But in the other games, yeah, I think you're right. There are a lot of other handheld consoles that are very powerful, and the Steam Deck being at $399, I think the Switch 2. You're gonna have to correct me on the specs in the comments or in the chat if you want, but I think the Switch 2 is on par, if not better, than Steam Deck now. Obviously, it's a little pricier, but its third-party support is substantially better than the Switch One was. Like as you saw, like that's what I'm saying in the direct. We got a huge third-party section of games, and some people like hardcore Nintendo fans were like, "What is this? Like, why are you showing us all these games?" But for a lot of gamers out there, those games are important. Like I'm talking like the Elden Ring, the Civ 7. There's a tons of third-party games. Like, and then they got that new From Software game that's exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2, and I
Hmm.
think that's huge. And so I think Nintendo understood the third party support is going to be massive if they want to stay on top of the handheld. And that's why they had to upgrade specs so much. People were already upset about the specs, but they had to upgrade specs so much so that they could run those third party games and stay not only on top of the handheld game and put out their own IP, but be the system that everybody wants to play their third party games as well. And I think they're going to be able to do that. And so I think that the initial reaction right now is obviously pretty dramatic, but I think once the dust settles, people are going to realize that the Switch 2 is like the next generation of greatness from Nintendo, and they're going to be on board.
You're such a fanboy for Nintendo, so I know it's gonna be hard for you to switch your opinion there. But I mean, honestly, if a physical Switch 2 game is $70, like I'll pay $70 for Donkey Kong Bonanza because I'm already paying $70 for a PS5 game. So to me, I'm like, yeah, that's still crazy, but I've already been used to it a little bit. I think anything below that, once you get closer to that 100 mark for any type of video game, that's wild to me. I understand, like, and I've seen people out there explaining, like, okay, like if you account for inflation, Switch 2 games are actually the same price that they were for Switch 1 games back in 2017. So, like, I guess you can make those arguments and that kind of thing. I think there's a lot of heated nature around the tariff aspect too, just because obviously there's a lot of heated nature around the political aspect of America right now and who our president is. And so, regardless of what your opinion is in that realm, you're already kind of like there's already kind of a division and a heated aspect. And the moment something changes where it affects just the consumer, I mean, people are already struggling to pay for just like actual needs in the country. And so when they see something like this, that's like a design, like uh, a luxury item, and they want it, and they see that went up significantly, they're just like, well, screw that. And I think that's why there's just such like a stark shift of so many people. And I think a lot of those people that are commenting, drop the prices, they're not going to pay for this. I think they're actually going to take a stance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yet to be seen. I mean, I think a fair amount of them are again upset. This is all brand new, so people are like freaking out. I think a lot of them are still going to get it. I still think that the Switch 2 is going to sell well. I agree. I mean, I don't think it's going to fly off the shelves as quickly as Switch 1 is. Like I think pre-orders will sell out. I think the initial batch is, there's enough people that are going to be like, "Hey, I want this. I'm buying it kind of regardless."
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. But yeah, we'll see. Like maybe a year in, are those Switch 2s still flying off the shelves like Switch 1 did and have that longevity? And it may depend on the games. I mean, it may depend on the first party games and the third party game support that Nintendo Switch 2 gets, and if they can run those games well. I mean, they definitely kind of wowed the audience in the direct with the numbers of 120 frames uh, per second and all that stuff. But we're kind of yet to be seen to like actually play all the games on it and see how they run, and that'll really determine whether I think these people think, okay, this is the best deal. You get a very competent handheld system plus all the Nintendo IP. And then we'll have to wait and see whether people think, okay, I'll pay for this, but I'm not buying that game because that's just too expensive. But I think the other thing is like PlayStation games, Xbox games, I believe are all $70 now as well.
They
And I
are.
think that's what most of the games are going to be, except for maybe that top tier game. And I know everyone's expecting like Grand Theft Auto to be, I mean, surely it's going to be at least $80, right?
People are saying that it's going to be $100, but I don't know if that's true.
Okay, well, $100 seems crazy, but I mean, I guess it depends on how long people are gonna play it for, and again, Mario Kart World, we still have yet to see like what all that entails. They have a direct specifically for Mario Kart World in a couple weeks, and so I think they're going to expand on that. We're going to be able to see what exactly is all in the game. I know we had 20 minutes of Nintendo Treehouse gameplay the other day, which was good, but obviously they're not showing us nearly the full scope of the game if they're planning to have a direct in 2 weeks.
Well, and I'm being a little cynical when I say this because the Mario Kart World footage looks amazing, and I'm ready to play it now. I'm curious if they're not showing us specific aspects of it because there's a lot of times when they do open world things with games, sometimes they promise a lot, but then you get into it and it's just like you're really just driving around and you're picking up collectibles and there's really nothing else to do. So like, is that going to be Mario Kart? Like, part of me is like, are they selling this as like a premier game and we're going to be paying more for it? But then past the race aspect of it, is like the added edition is going to be anything that's worth that price point? That's yet to be seen. Obviously, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit there. But I mean, Mario Kart's never been a game where you're like, oh, I'm going to pay more than 50, $60 for it.
Yeah. I'm very curious I mean, there's a lot to talk about with the Mario Kart World trailer and then like what that leads to. Because if you think about it, they showed us some tracks, they showed us some Grand Prix moves, and they showed us some new knockout mode and then the free roam mode. But what they didn't show us is like, I guess they did show some online play in the treehouse, but like online, like ranked, is that a thing? Because that's been a thing in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And then battle modes, like is there a battle mode? Did we see that? Maybe I
They did
missed that.
not show battle mode as of yet, which it might
Okay,
come in
so
the direct.
that's a staple in Mario Kart. Like I think people are going to be upset if that's not present. But again,
Yeah.
maybe they're hiding some things. But I think the free roam is maybe where they're hiding the most. And I think people think, oh, free roam, that's really cool, but maybe it's going to get old quickly if there's not a lot to do. And I think there is going to be a lot more to do than we think. I think there's going to be some cool collectibles, and I think the ability to play like multiplayer free roam is going to actually be really cool.
Hmm.
And I think that we're going to have to do that on the channel. Honestly.
Yeah, probably. Shake said in the chat he thinks that Grand Theft Auto is going to be $100. But I also agree with you, Shake. You know, you're saying that Nintendo just has to keep doing a good job with their exclusives. I think they've always been great at that with their Mario's, their Donkey Kongs. I
Yeah.
think it's been enough to bring a lot of people in. Let us know, Shake, what you're most interested in with this new Nintendo Switch. We would love to know if you're interested in either of those games, Mario Kart World or Donkey Kong, or even one of those third-party games. Or let us know if you're going to get the Steam Deck versus this. Definitely curious by your comments there. Jonathan, you want to talk about specifically those two games, Nintendo or Mario Kart World
Yeah.
and Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm going to start with Donkey Kong Bonanza just because this is a game that really is a long time coming, and we haven't had a 3D Donkey Kong game since Donkey Kong 64.
Mhm.
So, what is your initial thoughts on this? Because you never played Donkey Kong 64 actually. So,
No. Yeah, just
from
bits and
your
pieces and watch some stuff, but no, never played through it.
yeah, you're familiar with just like Donkey Kong Country, like 2D side scroll. So, what
Mhm.
is your initial reaction there? Do you think this is perfect for a launch game for Nintendo Switch 2?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I think the game looks awesome, and I know that Nintendo. Again, if you watched our prediction video, Austin actually predicted the 3D Donkey Kong game, and you're exactly right. Although most people were saying it was going to be 3D Mario, and we got 3D Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
And I'm not mad about it because one, it looks incredible, and a lot of people were saying, oh, maybe the team that made Mario Odyssey made Donkey Kong Bonanza, because there are some similarities in just the way it looks and the way it plays. We don't know that
yeah,
for sure, but there's a lot of like cool Nintendo touches on the game, and it really does look good. It looks, captivating. It looks fun, exciting. Donkey Kong has a lot of like charm and more facial expressions and stuff like that. So,
yep.
based off of what I've seen so far in the trailer and then in the treehouse part that I was watching, I think that it looks really fun. I think it's going to sell really well. Maybe not as well as like a Mario or Zelda, because it's just not there yet. But maybe it could pick up steam. Like if it gets good reviews, I could see it still being a 15, 20 million seller. Um, if the game is really good. And from what I've seen so far, it looks really good. So I'm very excited about it. I think that it'll get people excited, especially after the Donkey Kong game, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD on the Switch. That people were wondering why Nintendo was pushing that game so much, and I think they wanted to get people excited about Donkey Kong. And I think
Yeah.
the park opening up next month, and here in Orlando, and then um, big spot in the movie. So they're trying to push Donkey Kong, and I think they've been planning this for a while. Obviously, that's why he had such a big part in the movie. That's why he has a big piece in the Universal. And so I'm excited to play the game, and I think that if it does well, which I assume that it will, Donkey Kong will kind of be back in the limelight and back in the center stage to have his own, like, 3D Donkey Kongs are now going to be a thing every handful of years.
Yeah. This is the Treehouse Live footage right here, and I'm laughing at how they're just beating the crap out of this box with
I mean,
the
this game looks
rock.
he just literally picks up a giant rock and he's destroying the whole thing. I mean,
You
it's
can
just
you can literally destroy pretty much the entire map. It looks like, or in the entire world, which is kind of crazy. But I do think you're right. I think we were. I think the reason I was so confident with that prediction was because they have been. Not that Donkey Kong's never been popular, but I think from the mainstream perspective, the Mario movie definitely put him back on the map a little bit, and at least in terms of the spotlight.
yeah.
Kids are just now getting to know who he is. You're getting, like you said, the Universal Park, and they wouldn't be putting Donkey Kong beside Mario and either of those things if they weren't going to do something. So, I mean, look at this design of Donkey Kong. I mean, he looks way different than he did, um, you know, back in like the rare days when Donkey Kong Country was around, Mario Kart.
Yeah.
They've completely changed him to be more like the movie. So
Yeah, I mean, I personally think he looks good. I know people were like not upset. I mean, people were always like don't like change. So, and that's the same way he looked in Mario Kart World. Like when they showed the additional Switch 2 trailer and people saw him, they were like, "Oh, he's got that different look."
yeah,
And I think part of it was to allow him to have more facial expressions. As you could see, he makes some kind of wacky faces. Jake says he's most excited for this game. Man, I hear that. I'm probably a little bit more excited for Mario Kart World, but this one seems very intriguing to me. It's kind of hard to tell like how much you're gonna like it until you actually get your hands on it and play it. Unfortunately, I did not get into the Nintendo Switch 2 experience, that I tried to get into, so I'll have to wait until the game actually comes out in July. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be exciting. I think that it's gonna have a lot of similarities to like a 3D Mario. There's some collectibles. There's
it
fun
basically
boss
looks like
fights.
Super Mario Odyssey 2, but Donkey Kong. That's
Yeah, I mean,
honestly what it looks like.
the movement looks good. The whole like thing where he's destroying obviously the world, and I mean, look at this. He's surfing on rocks. Like, I think that part is obviously new, but like if movement is good, there's fun collectibles. There's fun like mini games, kind of like side missions, and I think it's gonna sell well. I think people are gonna love it, and sometimes people want a little like not that people don't want 3D Mario more, but it's nice to have a little bit of variety.
I agree. And honestly, getting something like this just opens up the possibility of what you and I have been talking about for a long time with co-op in 3D Mario games. I think that's the next evolution of what we're getting. With this going to be, I guarantee you Bananza is going to sell and it's going to be popular. So between those two things, I could totally see them, whether it's a DLC or just a whole nother game, them eventually doing a co-op thing with like just like Nintendo as a whole. And you could pick, how like in like Super Mario 3D World, you can play as those four characters like the Toad, Luigi, Peach,
Yes.
Mario. So you've always been able to do that in side scroll Mario games. But imagine doing that in a 3D game in some capacity. So you add the entirety of the Nintendo world around, and you add Donkey Kong, Luigi, Mario, Peach, Daisy, Toads, the Koopas, whatever other world they want to add, Kirby. I get like that wouldn't that be crazy if they had like
Yeah.
a Nintendo Universe type game and you
Oh,
could
man,
play as
insane.
any of those characters?
Yeah, I mean that would be incredible. Yeah, I think that they're obviously like Nintendo is always a step ahead, so I'm sure they're brainstorming and trying to figure out what is the next evolution, and hopefully this sells well, and it's gonna involve Donkey Kong. I mean, they kind of took a big risk already by putting them into the park and making a movie with him being a big role. So I think they're kind of all in. But if this does well, then I think they can really feel free to dive in deep and like put more effort into Donkey Kong and making it just as mainstream as Zelda and Mario and Pokemon and stuff.
Yeah. Hey, so in the comments, Julia is asking how can she get better at Mario Kart because she's always last place. My recommendation would is to play with Laura. Laura is the best at this game. She's always first place, always beating everybody. So I think you guys should spend some time together and play this game. And Mario Kart World will come out, and you guys will be the best. So
That's right. I think just more practice. Everyone can spend a little bit more time practicing.
yeah,
Um,
Laura knows all about the drifts.
no, but yeah, I mean, yeah, playing with good players, and then honestly knowing the maps helps if we're trying to be on a serious note.
Yeah. Shake, I definitely agree. I appreciate you loving the idea too. I could definitely see the file size being really big for that for a universe Nintendo game. Um, I don't know. I mean, like you think about PS5 games. I mean, nowadays, I mean, you get something like Red Dead Redemption 2. I think that game took like over 100 gigs off of my PS5 because it's so big. So, I mean, with the processing system that Nintendo Switch 2 is going to have, or whatever the next console will be after that, I could see that being a pretty massive venture for them as well. But I mean, Nintendo's just getting more sophisticated with this type of stuff. So I think I don't think they're ever going to be the level of those other consoles because those games just play differently.
Yeah,
But something, I mean, this game right here, Donkey Kong Bonanza, looks beautiful from an animation and polish perspective. So I could definitely see them just doing like split screen or online co-op. But yeah.
yeah. So let's talk about that file size comment again for a minute, because one of the other things that really got people up in arms about kind of what was maybe some misinformation going on in the internet is that there was this picture about key cards on the internet, and people thought this is the end of physical games. People thought, oh, they're not doing real games anymore. There's this key card thing where if instead of like having a cartridge that has the game on it, the cartridge is just basically a key to allow you to download the game. And so people thought that that was the case for all physical games. Therefore, you're not actually getting the game. But again, that turned out to not be true. It turned out to just be the case for some larger third-party games. And all Nintendo games will still be physically on the cartridge, just like they always have been. But that was another example of like Nintendo not being clear on what's going on, and therefore causing people to create some misinformation on the internet, causing havoc. And people are just, people were so hungry for all the information, and when they didn't get bits and pieces here, they try to fill in the gaps with just nonsense, and it came back to bite them in the butt.
Yeah. I'm pulling up this article real quick, Jonathan. Um, so this article from IGN talks about this, what you were talking about right here. So it's just talking about the cards will only include or some Switch 2 games will only include the download key.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people are already even complaining about the box look of this,
Dude,
which
people
is
complain about
I'm just like,
everything.
why are you complaining about everything? I mean, like the only difference is that the color of the box is red instead of
So
clear.
so people are upset. People are upset about the top part being so like big. People are the red
Oh,
part
the
of the
Switch
top.
2 part, yeah,
Yeah, people think that's ugly, but they did change the whole spine of it. And people actually saw that like a spine view of the game, and they're kind of changing their mind because now it's actually just that top part is red, whereas Switch 1 games the whole spine was red and it's just red in normal lettering the name of the game. But now
yeah,
that top part is red in the spine, and the rest of the spine is the actual box art like style instead of just a full red spine. And I
yeah.
think people are actually happy about that. So
I mean, I could see that. I mean, we love collecting physical games because we like the art on it. So having something that takes up more space, I'm not too sure about that. But um, yeah, I mean, like right here, many have already taken to social media to point out that while some early looks at Switch box art, including game covers, do indeed feature the game key card disclaimer, others do not. So Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza do not.
yeah.
And it appears the game key card will approach will be reserved for a few, especially hefty games. So it's probably going to be majority of the third party games, right? Because
Well, the ones that maybe are super large, or I don't think that's a Nintendo decision.
no, that's from that third party company. Because I
Yeah,
mean, it's mentioning here Hogwarts Legacy and Final Fantasy VII Remake. These games have already been on Xbox and PlayStation, and to put something like that onto Switch 2, you're taking a processing system in a game that was built for those more. high processing systems. And so when you do that, even as good as the Switch 2 is going to be compared to Switch 1, it is going to require different specs. And so the gaming company over there is probably thinking, well, we just have to have these disclaimers because there's a lot of games on PlayStation and Xbox that you have to download on there as well. So
Yeah.
it doesn't work the same as cartridges. Nintendo's always just banked on having all the save data through their cartridge.
Yeah, mostly. And they did actually have a portion of the direct where they talked about, I mean, I know 256 gigs is not massive compared to the competition out there. When I'm going to say that, I mean PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X compared to the Steam Deck. I think it's actually the same, or maybe Steam Deck has a couple of models. They might have a 512 model as well, but 256 compared to the 32 from the original Switch. I think 64 on the first version 2 Switch, but 256. And then they talked about how they are not going to take the regular micro SD cards, but you need the micro SD Express cards because they upload data faster, something like that. And I know those aren't super cheap, but yeah, I think Nintendo's just trying to do it right. I mean, I think that from my understanding, they took a lot of feedback from what people had said about Switch One, and they made a better system in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Okay, Shake. So you're saying that there's 256 is the lowest gigs for the Steam Deck. 1 terabyte is 640. Holy cow,
Oh, okay. So that's another thing. 649.
that's
Is there anything?
crazy.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But
What else is added to that, Shake? Is there anything other than 1 terabyte, or is that purely just because of the storage?
yeah, that's pretty wild. So yeah, 256 isn't crazy, but I mean, you can get a terabyte micro SD card for less than that. Um, you can
I'm
get one
actually
for
gonna.
less than 200, which would, put the Switch price at 450 plus a $200 dollar terabyte micro SD card. That would be the same as 649. So
That's
if
true.
we're looking at price wise and storage and whatnot, so
I'm gonna pull up
that's
the Steam Deck website so
yeah.
we
Let me
can
know.
see
I'm curious
this.
about that. Oh, okay.
So
OLED screen HDR. Probably. I'm curious about that. Everything from what I've seen, from the people who got a first look at the Switch. I think New York already had its Switch 2 experience, but that though the screen is LCD because of the HDR and something else, people are saying the screen actually looks very good. People were going to be upset that it wasn't going to be OLED, and people kind of assumed it wasn't. It was going to be still LCD, which it is, but because of the upgrades they made to the screen, it looks way better than the Switch 1 LCD. Maybe not as good as OLED, but still very competent.
yeah. Well, you can see right here with the Steam Deck. So they're actually offering quite a bit of options here, just because.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Switch to. I mean, Nintendo doesn't offer different versions like this in terms of to size. I mean, PlayStation and Xbox have in the past. This is purely handheld, obviously, so this is a little bit different. But they're, I mean, like Shake was saying, they're offering quite a bit of a difference between the screen resolution here, and then there's just a little bit different of like refresh rates and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Since the Switch is not purely a handheld system, it's both. Obviously, they have to account for that as it being console and handheld. So I think there's a lot more. They have to account for like just like it plugging into TVs and the connection there, different types of TVs, that kind of thing. So I think their best bet and also cost effective was the LCD.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a good decision. I mean, these prices are interesting because I mean, the first thing that pops out to me and the Switch 2 being a good bang for your buck compared to this is the screen size. 7.9, almost 8 inches compared to the 7.4 there. I know that's a half inch, but that's a big difference. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you get longevity with this because Steam is always, I mean, at least for the foreseeable future, Steam has been around forever. You can download whatever you want for the most part. I mean, obviously, you do exclude some exclusives with Nintendo. You can't get that in Steam, but especially a lot of old games, retro games, you can get through Steam. And
yeah.
so, I mean, if you were paid $700, that's probably going to last you longer than a general console, even more than the Switch One did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. I know that the Steam Deck is not sold very well, um, especially when you compare it to Nintendo Switch, obviously. Um, so I think Nintendo Switch 2 will do just fine. I think that once this tariff thing's figured out, once people like let the dust settle on the prices and everybody being up in arms, I think it's going to do fine. Initial reaction, my guess would it probably not quite as well as the Switch One because that may very well become the best selling console of all time, but it'll do very well. We're definitely not in a Wii U situation, but
Yeah.
I don't think they kind of struck lightning in a bottle maybe like they did with Switch, but I mean time will tell. It may also just depend on software. It may just
Jonathan, do you know what the refresh rate is of the Switch 2? Shake is saying maybe 120.
I think that depends on whether it's docked or not. I think that I know they talked about that on Metroid. Again, some games are able to have that, and I think that
I'm gonna look it up.
you could do it docked. I know Metroid Prime. They talked about having a
So this
120.
the AI review on Google is saying Nintendo Switch is expected to feature 120, like he said. It is a 1080p screen,
Yeah,
double the
yeah,
60. That is pretty wild. Switching that up. I mean, that's double the what we got on Switch One.
yeah. Like I said, I mean, Nintendo knew that the third party support was going to have to be upped in this generation if they're going to compete with all these other handhelds, and so everyone knew that they were gonna up the power, but I think everyone was still surprised at how much they up the power, and that's a great thing for Nintendo.
So this is one of those people that got the
Yeah, there
hands
you go.
on. And you can see right here, I've seen footage of this. So these people having the hands-on gameplay here. So they're saying, I can confidently say that I'll enjoy staring at the Switch 2 screens on the subway more than my Switch OLED for the most part.
Oh, really?
Um, so they're directly comparing it here. Despite that, the Switch 2 screen has another big advantage. The 1080p screen has a 120 refresh rate, double the 60 refresh of the original.
Yep.
Will the console have the power to put out enough frames to take advantage of that refresh rate? That's the question we'll see answered after playing high-end games on the system. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I mean, Mario and Donkey Kong, we're not really probably going to have to worry about that. Those third-party games that they were pushing is where we're going to get probably most of that test.
yeah, and I think that we'll find out soon, like as soon as the system drops, because there's tons of third party games that are going to be available at launch. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that there's only time will tell with some of these things. Um, like I said, I think there's a lot of it's going to sell out at launch. What I think, from what I've heard, it's doing that already in the other markets where it's gone for pre-orders. So we'll have lots of people to give lots of reviews, and they'll probably break down the system and test it in every which way. So we'll
Yeah,
really get a deeper dive come June when the system launches, and we'll get to see how all the games run: Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, Elden Ring,
yeah,
Fortnite. We're gonna get to see everything. Not to mention the Switch One games and see a few of those upgrade packs. I know they like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They played at Treehouse, and there's a pretty substantial difference from Switch One to Switch Two. The versions of that, not only in like the visuals and the way it looks, the clarity, the colors, but also the load times. Like when you transport from one part of the of Hyrule to another, load times. I want to say it was like almost in half. It was amazing.
yeah. I'm going to pull that up. Why we do that? Yeah, I agree with you, Shake. The third party, I think it still will outpace the Steam Deck. I think Nintendo is just too strong of a brand for them to completely get washed out.
Yeah. Yeah, the Nintendo, I think in the handheld console, it's it's going to be no contest unless PlayStation. I know Xbox is maybe rumored to have something coming out soon, but Nintendo's IP still just has such a strong grasp on so many people, like the nostalgia part, but then also like there's just so many games. Like first of all, you look at this year, and people are saying, do we have Switch One games? I mean, Mario Kart World, which I think is going to be bigger than people realize, launching with the Switch Two. You have Donkey Kong, which is going to be huge in July. You have Metroid Prime 4, which maybe a smaller audience, but still a huge Nintendo IP that's going to be coming out later this year. And then another Pokemon game that's going to sell like probably another 20 million units as well.
Dude, in
And
that
so
Pokemon game, that second trailer we saw during the direct honestly looked so much better than that first one. and I'm really excited to see what it looks like on Switch too. Because as many people have complained about Scarlet and Violet and the frame rate on that, I think this
But
one's
yeah,
going to actually like put to bed all those complaints.
I think people were very relieved to see that Switch 2 is getting a version of Pokemon Legends ZA because people were worried that it's not going to run on Switch 1. And again, like me, I'm not the biggest stickler for the performance of games. I had a blast with Scarlet and Violet. Sure, it always will be a slightly better experience if the game runs well, but it's not taken away from some of my like the main.
Oh, I think we lost Jonathan. Connection went out.
Hello?
Can you hear me, Jonathan?
I can hear you. I'll be back. Sorry about that.
No, we're good. I think there's a connection problem because the video has been lagging a little bit too. The YouTube video has been lagging a little bit too,
That's all right.
but it's all good.
So yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely gonna get the Switch 2 version of Pokemon Legends ZA, and I think it's gonna be fun. That game's gonna sell like crazy. But unless somebody has an answer for the IP that Nintendo can continually put out and the exclusive that they can continually put out, it's just gonna keep on selling like crazy.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I want to talk about this footage right here because I mean we were talking about how great this looks, but before that, we got some 007 fans in the chat
Oh
mentioning that 007 game. And I actually was going to ask that question. Did we see footage for that, or was that just teased?
no, yeah, that was just teased. I think I forget which company it was, but they were talking about their Hitman game, and then they said we also have something else in the works, and that they played the music and showed the
That's
007
right.
logo. So,
Dude, I'd be so down for 007. I mean,
dude,
I mean, playing GoldenEye and 64 back in the day, and then there was a couple of them on GameCube that I played. So I would actually, I'm actually really excited about that. I know Roman would be excited about that too. We'll have to tell him
dude, we'll
next
have
time
to.
he's on the stream. But
We'll have to-
um, yeah, that's gonna be sick.
Yeah, I hope that they can make like a good game that it kind of brings back some of that magic because I mean, I vividly remember those nights playing in 64 with some, my brother and some cousins and man, which just good times. So if they can bring back something that brings back that same kind of excitement, that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, Breath of the Wild, they did both in Treehouse Live. They did a Breath of the Wild demo and Tears of the Kingdom, and we saw footage of just what it's going to look like on Switch 2. Obviously, with the share screen here and just the resolution, it's not obviously going to look as beautiful as it will on Switch 2. But we already saw how these visuals are enhanced. Just some of the atmospheric elements and just some of the buildings have a little more texture to them and that kind of thing. So what do you think? I mean, you've played both of these games fully. I have not played Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm a
Yeah, we
slacker
got to
on that
fix
end.
that. We got to fix
We gotta fix that for sure. But what do you think? I mean, do you think this is going to bring people in? Because I mean, not only Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, but we also got added additions for the Kirby game, and
it.
then
Yep.
we also got added things for Jamboree. So like,
Yeah.
do you think that's enough to bring people in to like transfer their information over to the Switch 2 version?
Yeah.
Because PS5 did that too, and I mean I did that with Jedi Fallen Order with PS5. From the PS4, I upgraded it, but that was a free upgrade that that PlayStation offered. So I don't think Nintendo's offering free upgrades for any of these games.
Well, yeah. So my understanding is that the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are just pretty much upgrades. And like I said earlier, I think those are going to be free for Nintendo Online Plus expansion pack members, but not for everyone else. So I think other than that, I think it's going to be $10 upgrade. They haven't confirmed that, but that's my guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think that these are going to sell that well. I think that you're going to have a lot of people who will kind of, oh, I want to see it. I'll do the expansion pack upgrade because also the GameCube. Someone else we didn't talk about the GameCube Online that they added to Nintendo Online. That's
Oh yeah,
also just expansion pack and Switch 2 exclusive.
yeah,
So that's going to be exciting. But that may give. I mean that. Nintendo Online membership plus expansion pack is looking better and better every time we get any kind of announcement from Nintendo because they're adding more stuff. And so
yeah,
I mean, I'll probably transfer the data over to Switch 2. I have the expansion pack, so I'll get a free upgrade and I'll dive back in to the Hyrule and go back to the depths and maybe do a few more side missions that I left undone or find a few more Koroks using that Zelda Notes app. And yeah, I mean, it'll be a fun playthrough. I know that like those two games are so big and they use so much of the same world that I don't think people are really, and they're not that far removed. So I don't think people are like begging for the chance to go back and play the whole thing again. And unfortunately, like those games sold so well, so I don't know that there's a ton of people that haven't played them, but there's probably some. And so I think that they'll definitely, without like a huge 3D Zelda to start off Switch 2, I think some people will buy it. Obviously, Jamboree and Forgotten Land, Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Land are a little bit different because, from my understanding, those are getting like actual DLCs, like actual like content added
Yeah, you're
with
getting an extra chapter to Kirby, and then
yeah.
Jamboree's getting extra mini games, and then like that game show aspect
Yeah,
to it.
yeah, there's a couple more things. So I think those are actually $20 upgrades, and I don't know if those will be 10 for expansion pack members or just 20 across the board or what how those are gonna work. But yeah, I mean I think if you bought the base game and it's a $20 upgrade for an extra DLC in Kirby Forgotten Land, I think a handful of people will do that. Jamboree, it depends on how well you like that and how much you like to do some of those mini games. I'll probably try it out. Admittedly, my wife and I love to play Mario Party with friends, and so more mini games is more fun for us. So, but that's another thing that actually brings up is the Mario Party Jamboree. A lot of what they showed off the mouse mode on the Switch 2. We didn't
Mm.
talk about that yet. So, what were your thoughts on the mouse mode on Switch 2, Austin?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna pull it up right here. I'm trying to find the footage for it, but
Yeah, mouse mode looked interesting. I think everyone was knew that the mouse mode was coming, but people were curious on how Nintendo was going to roll with it. We'll get on to drag and drive in a second, but talking about Mario Party first, the mini games involved the mouse mode looked kind of cool, but mouse mode in general, from what the Switch 2 gave us, was, I think it was cool. I think people maybe had their expectations a little high from my understanding, but it seems like it could have its place, its time and place. I think obviously you're going to have something to put the Joy-Con on to actually use it as a mouse. So like you'd have to be playing at a desk or in front of a coffee table or something like that where you can actually use it as a mouse. Um, so I don't know that it's super applicable to a lot of people, and obviously it's not going to work in handheld mode, but I think there's place for it.
yeah, it's coming up on this video right here, but we see there's like a spray can situation going on. Like this is
Yep.
the new mode right here, the Bowser Live.
Yeah, this is one of the new
Um,
modes. Yeah, I think it's coming. Yeah, this is well, there you go with the camera. We didn't talk about the camera either. I think this is just
right
hilarious.
here, the mouse mode. You saw
Oh,
that?
there you go. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
oh, you shake it. So this you kind of can incorporate the mouse mode with just regular motion
so right,
controls.
it's right here on the yeah, right here.
Yeah,
So
this too. This is yeah, I mean they're trying to get people to oh, I didn't realize that's the Wonder Flower from Mario Wonder and
yeah, but
Mario.
you see how they're moving. Well, they're shoot. This one's like a carnival game
Yeah.
where they're shooting. The other one was like you said, the mouse
I
mode where
I
they're
do like this because it's way more accurate than motion controls,
yeah, right
obviously.
here. I like this
Much
that
more
you kind of like,
precise.
but you're gonna have to have a surface that you can
Yes, you have to
do
have a
that with.
surface. You have to have a surface, which, I mean, I don't know how else people expected that was gonna work.
Well, of course, but I'm saying like I don't know how restricted that is for people. I mean, I have a table, like a coffee table in front of my TV, so
Yeah, but if people wanna
do that
use the
there.
mouse mode, they have to find a cer I mean, that it just makes sense to me. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that, I think there's gonna be people who get it and people who enjoy it. I don't know the longevity of it, but the biggest call for mouse mode, was 2 things. 1, the Metroid Prime 4 game or any, like, shooter type game that you can go I think people were going maybe regular Joy-Con in the left hand and then mouse mode in the right hand.
yeah.
Um, I think that would work well, and then the double mouse mode for drag and drive. So this game I think caught a lot of people by surprise. I think it's coming up right now. But this was kind of everyone knew they were going to have this game that's showcasing the mouse mode, and here it is. It's wheelchair basketball. I think people like nobody's mad at it. I think it was just like kind of out of left field.
You know what this reminds me of? This is, I mean, it's different, it's tamer, but it kind of reminds me of Rocket League.
Yeah, I mean everyone thought that because Rocket League actually does have a basketball mode, but yes, it definitely feels like Rocket League-ish. And I think it's interesting. They did some gameplay in Treehouse, and it didn't look terrible.
No, I think it
Um,
looks fun. I mean, I'm definitely going to try it out. You and I should play it for sure.
yeah,
Um,
I'm curious because obviously you see the hands moving on just a flat surface there. I don't know how intuitive the controls are going to be. Um, I I think it's funny. I mean, I think it's great. It's very Nintendo to do something like this. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to try it out. I'm curious. I'm curious how accurate the actual mouse controls are going to be. But I think it's great. I mean, even if it doesn't sell well, whatever.
I'd be curious. Shake made a comment. He's wondering if the mouse mode would work on the knee or on your couch. I'd be curious about that too.
The
I wonder if
couch
it
actually
has to
wouldn't
be
be
a.
a bad idea.
The knee would make sense more than the couch. I don't know if it's like if it would pick up the fabric or
Yeah, I
if
mean, I
it's a
guess
surface.
you could always use a book or an actual mouse pad or something.
Mm,
But I'm sure that Nintendo thought about all that, and they thought they tried to make it as like as you know can work with anything as possible, compatible. But we'll have to just wait and see once everybody gets hands on it. I know that's a big question, but
yeah.
it'll be interesting. I know that there was mixed things about this, and then the other thing they did was that I don't even know what it's called, but the Nintendo Switch, like what looked like should be a free pack-in game that kind of teaches you about the Nintendo Switch 2, that ended up being is going to be paid digital only.
Yeah, it's the tour right here.
Yeah, the
Dude, this
Switch
thing is
4.
so weird. And I thought this was what I thought this was when I saw it. It reminded me of PlayStation 5 when you
Yeah,
had the Astro Boy.
the Astrobot World. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I thought this was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's what it is kind of like.
But
And
yeah,
so
but you
everyone
didn't
was
have to pay for
assuming.
Astro.
I mean, I watched a handful of reactions, Austin. Every single person had the same reaction when they brought up that screen where it's like this is will be a paid digital game. Everybody said, "You have to pay for that?"
Yeah, it's insane.
And I'm sure that it's not going to be more than $10. But still, I think by principle, it's just like why did you do that? Because
Dude,
now everyone that saw that is gonna be like, why are you making us pay for that? That goes
well,
along
I
with
think that's why people are so pissed because they're just like, well, you're already raising prices and everything, and then you make me pay for this like tour thing, which this is just going to tell you more about your console that you could probably figure out if you just
yeah. Well, now what's gonna happen is Austin, nobody's gonna buy this.
no one's going to buy
Even
it.
out of principle, if it's $5, even still nobody's gonna buy it because they're like,
No,
I'm not. It's
I
not.
mean that's kind of cool. Like you can play golf and some
Yeah,
other things, but
I guess they
again,
didn't show too many of the mini games, but
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
yeah,
I mean, maybe they will. I mean, like because I mean, Shake had mentioned a little bit earlier in the stream. He said the Joy Cons and the interactive games will still be big value add too. And so, like, if you think about that, I mean, like, if we're talking about the mouse feature and all that kind of stuff, like, maybe people will buy this game for $10 or less because they want to use the new features. They want to try it out to the fullest extent. It's the only thing I could see people buying that for.
it's again, this is such a Nintendo thing.
It's
It's so
stupid.
funny.
It's honestly really
It
stupid.
is so funny.
I think that's what pisses people off is that they're just like, well, okay, if you're going to make us pay 10, 20 more dollars for a game, then why are we going to pay for little add-ons that just tell me more about this system, right?
Yeah, that seems kind of funny.
Here's what you were talking about earlier with the cartridges. I mean, it's the same exact thing, which is nice because we can still use our cases.
Yep, cartridges, same size, which is good, and then the micro SD cards, which are going to be different. You have to have the micro SD Express cards as compared to the regular micro SD
Yeah,
cards
which those
because
things aren't cheap.
no, they're not going to be cheap, but they have faster download speed or faster like speed of uploading the data. And again, like if you buy a Switch One, I mean, if you have a Switch 2 day one, like this is probably not going to be a need for a little while. And if you play a lot of games, and maybe you only buy digital, so
Yeah.
I don't think people are gonna. This can be something that you buy a Switch 2, and then maybe like a year or two down the road, you're like, okay, now it's time that I need a micro SD card. Unless you just play a ton of digital only games.
Well, I didn't buy my SD card for Switch One until a little bit in.
Yeah, same.
I think it'll depend on the transfer situation because we're
That's
obviously going to transfer some of our data from Switch One
that's true. That's
over.
true.
Not every game I don't think I need, but with that being said,
But even still, those games were made for Switch One, knowing that the storage was light. So I think that those still are not going to. They're not going to take up that much space.
yeah. One of the things I wanted to just go back to the GameCube aspect real quick, just because GameCube is my favorite Nintendo system of all time. Let's see if this will load for me. So this is showcasing the games that they showed, and It only looks like we're getting a couple of them to start. Obviously they slowly release these out. I'm actually am really sad that we're not getting. Um, I don't know why the video's not working. Oh, there we go. Wind Waker. So we're getting Wind Waker and we're getting F-Zero in there. I'm actually really sad that Luigi's Mansion, the OG Luigi's Mansion, we're not getting on the launch. It didn't look like. I think that's coming down the road.
Yeah, I think it was in the list of down the road a little bit, but I mean, I don't think it's going to be far down the road. I mean, who knows the reason why they drip feed these games, but um, yeah, I mean, that's a game I'm excited for, but there'll be time. I think Nintendo's going to want to have a hot start, so there'll be plenty of time down the road to play these games. When the Switch 2 first launches, I mean, people are going to be busy with lots of games.
Yeah, I just really want you to play that OG Luigi's
I'm going
Mansion.
to play it. You can guarantee I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
There's a couple games I want to play. I actually still need to go back and work through a backlog of some old Zelda games, and I'll definitely make my way to Wind Waker. I'm excited about that. I know there was a big rumored like remake game, and I kind of honestly, because I like new things, I kind of wish that they would have done the remake, but this is just as good. I'll happy to use my GameCube controller and play Wind Waker on here. It doesn't look bad actually.
No, Wind Waker's fun. You would like it.
So that's going to be exciting. Yeah, here's the games so these are the games that are coming up. Like they'll be
Mario Strikers. That's funny.
later on. Mario Strikers, oh, great game.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't have that expansion pack, but
Yeah, I think it's worth it for a couple of reasons, especially if they add these free upgrades to some of these games, and then you have the Nintendo 64 games and some other stuff, GameCube. So
yeah,
definitely gonna be worth it.
Well, Jonathan, I think maybe it's time to wrap it up. We've covered a lot tonight, and we definitely appreciate those who have joined us. Shake, I appreciate you joining and engaging with us. Same to you, Laura and Julia, and Nick as well. But yeah, we're going to be talking a lot more about Nintendo Switch 2 as we get closer to the release date, closer to the launch date of the system. We're going to be getting it, playing the games, probably find a way to stream as well, and just let you guys know our thoughts. We're also going to be doing some videos talking specifically around Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, pretty successful first stream, Jonathan. I know we were trial and error with this, trying to get it go live, but look forward to having more people engage in the future, and we would love to know what people think about Nintendo Switch 2. And what do you want to see? What are you most excited about? What are you mad about with the prices and just with the system as a whole? Let us know down in the comments below. But yeah, appreciate it. If anybody out there has not followed us yet, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We're all things fandom: Star Wars, Marvel, DC, video games, Nintendo, classic movies, all that kind of stuff. So definitely appreciate it. We're gonna be doing more stuff like this in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a great first live, Austin. Let us know in the comments if you would come watch a live and kind of join into the conversation. This is fun for us to talk and chat with you guys as well. So let us know. We'll definitely try to do some more involving lots of other stuff. But obviously, it's exciting time for Nintendo right now with the new console coming up. So this is fun for us to talk about, and we appreciate everyone tuning in and watching the video. So thanks for watching. Thanks for coming here to get your fandom fix. Like he said, I'm Jonathan. This is Austin, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, guys.